Throughout the ages, history has been altered by word of mouth and the misrepresentation of those who might not have been present when some of the world's most significant events took place. Channelers Barry and Connie Strohm bring through the spirits of those who actually witnessed or took part in these historical events and lets them tell their stories in their own words. Welcome to Channeling History. And now, here are your hosts, Barry and Connie Strohm.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Barry Strohm. I'm the host of Channeling History, and I would like to welcome everyone to our show. We are the only show where we channel the souls that made things happen. I hope that you enjoy our very, very special show tonight.
I'm Connie Strohm, your co-host, and I would like to also welcome you to our show. Last week we could not do a live show, but this week we will channel with our blue alien friend from the planet Robe. Tonight we're going to discuss the present and the future with him. His name's Fred. This very interesting show will be available on our YouTube channel in the name of Barry Strohm, which by now has over 630 videos. We're currently consolidating all of our radio broadcasts on a new platform named podbean.com. Just go to the site and search Barry Strohm. This week we're going to see what the spirits are willing to tell us about the future, because we're not allowed to know everything. But keep in mind that they will not give any information that will change an individual's life plan. So please feel free to submit any questions through the chat room.
Okay, let's do a short disclaimer, and we're going to get on with the show. It's going to be a good one tonight, folks. So the opinions or statements voiced on our show are the channeled words of the Spirit, do not necessarily reflect our opinions, those of the Paranormal Network, or of our sponsors. And as you know, before we channel, we always say a prayer of protection. So Connie, you can say the prayer and we'll begin to channel with our buddy Fred, and it should be quite a show.
God, please grant us your wisdom and protection. Grant us the knowledge that we can handle and keep us safe from all things that will harm us. Keep the messages positive and pure love. Keep us safe from our egos. We ask these things in light of the seen, the unseen, and the honesty of God. Amen.
Okay, if you've listened to our other shows, you know that we've been told to refer to our alien spirit by the name Fred. His native language from the planet Robe is totally unknown to us, and there's absolutely no way we could ever pronounce his real name. So, Fred, thank you for joining us again tonight.
Yes, we're really happy to have you back, Fred. Would you like to begin with a message for our listeners?
Yes, I would. I know many of you out there think it is impossible that you're actually hearing the words of an alien spirit. Well, guess what? It's happening. For millions of years, aliens have visited the planet Earth, and they've had much help for the humans that lived here. Now, humans haven't been here that long, a couple 100,000 years, but we've tried to help. We've tried to do what we could. After all, we have the same soul energies, so I guess you could say we're all related, that we're all one in the universe. We all have that spark of God within us, so there's this great similarity. We just simply lived in other cultures on different planets, and we accomplished different things. So we do have a different outlook, and it is our role to help humans advance. Sometimes it seems like humans do everything to keep from advancing, but we try our best. There are many rules that we have to follow when we come here, so I don't have to follow any of those rules as a spirit tonight, but I'll try to talk to you and I'll try to answer some things. I know Barry has some questions that I may have to hedge a bit on the answers, but we'll do the best we can. So Connie, if you want to begin with the questions, I'll try to answer them for you.
Okay, we appreciate that. So, what do you think as you watch what's taking place on this planet today?
Sometimes I just shake my head. It's hard to believe that humans are so violent towards each other. Now, there's many that are peaceful. There's many that try to live together, and there's many that try to help others. But then we see things like what's going on in Europe right now at the war, and it's just a terrible, terrible thing. Hundreds of thousands of young men are being killed for no reason. If there was ever a war with no reason, this is it. The aggressor has a leader that just simply wants more land, so he feels like he can attack and take that land. The rest of the world fears people like that, so they know that he has to be stopped, or there will be no stopping him. Evil is a very, very real thing on your planet. And we get a different perspective on evil than many of you would have, because we're not involved in it. We can just simply watch what it causes. But you must get control of evil. You must do what is right, and you must learn to coexist. You now have the weapons to end life on Earth as you know it. I sincerely hope that no one decides that they're going to use that weapon. It would be the utter foolishness. But then we've seen some pretty stupid things through the years from humans.
No doubt. So, Fred, do aliens come to Earth to just watch what humans do to each other, kind of like when we go to the zoo to watch the animals?
Connie, that's a good way to describe it. We come to watch. We also come to help. And we try to introduce different technologies to humans. We conduct studies of humans. Sometimes we even bring them aboard our ships and we use our equipment to better understand what humans are doing to kill themselves. We do not mean humans harm, but sometimes accidents happen. But our sole role is to observe and to help. The day will come that we have a greater role with humans, but until society in general accepts the fact that we truly do exist, we are actually quite limited in what we can do.
So, will extraterrestrials actually play any role in helping preserve the evolution of humans?
Yes, we will. But keep in mind that God has given all the humans free will. Now, we will try to influence that free will, and we will do what we can to make sure that humans continue to evolve. There'll be a time that if humans are to survive, they'll have to learn to travel the stars and colonize another planet, because all planets have finite lifetimes, but that is far in the future. Hopefully, humans will be able to use the technologies that they're now learning, and they are advancing very rapidly in their own eyes. In our eyes, they're still very, very much behind the technologies that we possess. But learning has to be a process. It cannot take place all at one time, and it has to take place gradually. Humans have got to be able to accept what is taking place around them. Humans have got to be able to understand what is taking place. And to do that, they have to learn basics. They have to know their past. They have to remember the history of what went before them so they don't make the same mistakes. For thousands of years now, it seems like humans are obsessed with making the same mistakes they made in the past. But we are truly here to try to help. I know many people fear us because aliens simply don't look like humans. They can. There are shapeshifters that look exactly like humans. And You will not be able to tell them from any of the real human species. But there's a lot of learning that must take place. And until that takes place, it is going to be a bit of a process.
Have extraterrestrials ever played any role in the past in preserving human evolution?
Oh, absolutely. There have been times in the beginning of nuclear testing that would have been possible for humans to create fusions that would run away and be out of control. The H bomb in particular has great potential to destroy all human life because, after all, hydrogen is a major component of your air that you all breathe. If by accident they would figure out how to create fusion within the hydrogen molecule, it would be the end of your planet. We have stopped certain tests because it was too dangerous. We have led humans away from certain types of experiments. We've done many things to help. And the way things are going, it looks like we will have to be doing things in the future. But if push comes shove, and mankind determines that they want to destroy themselves, I fear we will not be able to stop them.
What types of extraterrestrials have played the greatest role in human evolution?
The ones that have played the greatest role in current times have been shapeshifters. Palladians have the ability to shift their shapes and look exactly like humans. I would say that in recent times, Palladians have probably played the greatest role in human evolution. In the past, your ancient people did not fear us as much as the modern person fears the thought of an alien presence. So in the past, many different types have helped. Perhaps one of the best examples of the different types that have helped in the past are the Nazca lines in Peru, in which the ancients tried to preserve the shape of the extraterrestrials that came to their aid. But keep in mind, there are hundreds of different types of shapes of aliens, from light beings to the spiders that we've talked about in the past and everything in between. Humans have got to be acclimated in order to accept the multiple forms that they will be witnessing in the future.
How do the individuals living on other planets learn the lessons of coexistence? I think we need a few hints here.
Well, they learn from experience. To the best of my knowledge, all of the civilizations on other planets went through periods of great violence early in their development. They all wanted what the other person had. They wanted more things, more power, just the same as humans do today. And they would use any means in order to acquire what they wanted. Weapons became more powerful as is taking place on Earth, and they reached a point where they truly could wipe out each other, and many of the cultures did. There are many failed civilizations on the planets within the galaxy. As the other people on the other planets realized what was taking place, they saw what was happening and that civilizations were destroying themselves. The planets decided that they needed a governing body, much as your planet is attempting to evolve towards a central type of government, a world order, so to speak. As each planet became more and more civilized, they just simply understood that it was better to work together for mutual goals than it was to try to destroy each other for individual goals. The humans have yet to learn that lesson.
Sadly, you're right about that. Did aliens help humans develop nuclear weapons?
Yes. And there are many times that we truly regret the fact that we did do that. During your Second World War, the German technologies were very advanced. In fact, more advanced than those of the Allies. The Germans were well on their way to developing a nuclear weapon. We realized that if they were first to develop the weapon, that it would be very bad for the Allies and they would probably lose the war. So we did aid the Allied scientists in developing a nuclear weapon, and the use of that weapon is what ended the war. Yes, it took many lives, but it also saved hundreds of thousands of lives. So at the time, it appeared to be the only way that we would be able to end the war rapidly. And we certainly did not want Germany ending the war by using the weapon. So yes, we did indeed help develop it.
I thank you for that. Do you see any way that nuclear proliferation can be averted?
Sadly, I cannot at this time. Many of the countries that are governed by autocracies and very evil people view the weapon as a means of finding power, of protecting themselves from other countries, and as a means of threatening and taking over other countries. It would be possible in the world today that a country could develop a very small nuclear weapon. They could plant it in a country, explode it, and blame another country for doing that. That could set off a mass strike that could be the chain reaction to destroy humanity. All of the countries have got to understand that there is zero tolerance in the decisions that they make using these weapons. If they use a weapon, somebody else will use their weapon. Today, you're seeing many countries that want to develop the nuclear weapon. It is becoming impossible for a major country, such as the United States or NATO, a group of nations, to guarantee security for some of these smaller countries. And they feel that if they developed a nuclear deterrent, they could guarantee their own safety. A great example today is what's taking place in Ukraine. Many countries guaranteed the safety of Ukraine, yet when they were attacked, they did nothing. Many countries feel that they are not going to be put into a position to make the same mistake, so they want to have nuclear weapons as well.
Will Russia use a nuclear weapon in Ukraine?
Russia is definitely considering using a tactical nuclear weapon. The question remains whether there will be individuals under the main leadership that will truly understand the consequences of what they're doing. Russia, so far, has simply been bluffing about using nuclear weapons. But it is quite possible, and maybe even probable, that once they start to lose the war, and as conditions change, they will begin to lose the war. They cannot maintain the rate of loss that they currently have among their young men. If they reach a point that they feel their backs are to the wall, they will certainly use a tactical weapon. The countries that are opposing Russia must be absolutely clear about the repercussions should they do it. And they must follow through. There can be no threats when it comes to nuclear deterrence.
If Russia uses a nuclear weapon, what will the response be of NATO?
There will be those that will want a conventional response, and that is probably how NATO will respond to it. NATO has many, many conventional weapons of great power, and they can do incredible damage to the Soviet Army and Navy with those conventional weapons. Now the question becomes, if the countries that are helping Ukraine destroy the, shall we say, the Navy of Russia and a great majority of their Air Force, will Russia feel that the only thing they can do is react with more nuclear weapons? At the time that I think that Russia would make a second strike of nuclear weapons, that is the time that the other countries, I think, will respond with nuclear weapons. The only answer is for the whole process not to begin.
So that's the only way to avoid nuclear war, right?
The countries have got to understand that mutual destruction would be absolutely assured, but it will be a process, and there will be those that will try to avoid a nuclear conflict as long as possible, and that is probably the proper reaction. But if multiple weapons are fired, there will be literally no choice but to respond in kind.
Do you see a major nuclear exchange at any time in the near future?
I have to be very careful how I answer this. There is a great possibility that within 2 years, there could be a nuclear exchange. The decisions have not been made, but at this time, it appears that there is a great probability that Russia will feel that they are pushed to the point that they need to do something, or it may be that a country like North Korea would use a nuclear explosion and blame it on Russia. There are many very dangerous possibilities.
Will extraterrestrials prevent a major nuclear exchange in the future?
That decision has not been made. It is very possible that as events have taken place on other planets, humans would be allowed to carry out their will to the end of whatever they would decide to do. Hopefully, the decision would be made to preserve human life, but that decision has certainly not been made at this time.
Do you see any weapons of the future that will be more powerful than nuclear weapons?
Absolutely. We have weapons at this time that are far more potent than your most powerful nuclear weapon. But we have absolutely no intention of ever using those weapons. They were developed in the past when the different planets were involved in mutual deterrence. When each planet involved in that deterrence reached the point that they could, with a single weapon, destroy an entire planet, the civilizations involved realized that there was no future in such a type of living under fear. And that is when they decided to have a mutual governing body that would enforce regulations and assure that life would be protected.
What type of weapons do the extraterrestrials possess?
They possess technologies far beyond your comprehension. And I know that you're getting tired of hearing that answer. I want you to think in terms of a type of what you refer to as a laser energy. Stop and think what it would be like if you could generate a bolt of energy equivalent to the power of your sun. That is the type of energy of which we speak on other planets. The proof that extraterrestrials do not mean harm to humans is that if we meant to harm you, you would not be here tonight.
So laser weapons are the weapons of the future?
They are similar to a laser type of weapon. A type of energy ray that is beyond any technologies conceived of by humans at this time. It is something that we will not disclose to humans. If any country had that type of weapon, they would be able to blackmail the entire world with it.
Will there ever be peace in the Middle East, Fred?
I do not see peace in the Middle East at any time in the near future. The combatants in the Middle East have generated generations of hatred. They teach the young to hate, and the young grow up hating, and they create governments that hate, and they create armies that fight each other because of that hatred. There may be a time far in advance where the individuals living in the Middle East teach the young to love and to coexist and to understand how much better life would be if they cooperated with each other. But that is far in the future.
So if we were to put extraterrestrials in control of the Middle East, what changes would they make?
If we were in control with the powers that we have, we would erase hatred from their minds. We would make sure that the individuals in the Middle East understood that life without hatred would be far superior to the life that they're currently living. But sadly, that is not going to take place because that would be changing the free will of the individuals involved.
Yeah. What changes do you see for the government of the United States?
The growth of government in the United States is very dangerous. God created a country based on many freedoms. He guided the founding fathers of the United States to create a union based on freedom. As governments grow, they take away the freedoms of individuals. Individuals become more dependent upon government, and the government uses that dependency to create more powerful positions and to expand far beyond anything that is required for a satisfactory government. As dependence upon government increases, your government has spent far beyond the income that it takes in. Countries cannot exist without having a sound financial basis. A country cannot exist without having a sound basis of faith, basis of peace, and a basis of individual rights. The government has got to be controlled. Growth has got to be stopped. And income and spending must become close to being equal. You cannot tax the entirety of the income of individuals. They must be able to live their lives, and they must be able to function. It will not be until politicians are elected to truly understand what is best for the people that the government of the United States will be guaranteed longevity.
What do you see, excuse me, as the greatest danger to the government of the United States?
I see greed and the desire for personal power as a great danger in many of your politicians. In the beginning, your politicians had a much smaller country to deal with. They did not seek the great power that exists as a possibility for them today. For the government to succeed, they must work with many other countries for each other's mutual goals. The United States has got to stress a type of mutual coexistence instead of a policy that only generates the interests of the country.
One of our listeners has a question for you. Is there a smarter, more efficient way to turn seawater to fresh water? How would that work?
There are many ways that will become apparent in the future. The removing of salt can be accomplished through natural distillation or through an accelerated distillation process. It is a very simple concept to remove the salt solid from your seawater. What it will take is a determination to spend the money that is required for the type of facilities that are required in order to reduce the salinity. There are chemicals available that can unite with the salt and take it out of solution and convert it to a type of solid. that will probably be the best long-term solution.
Thank you. Who would you say represents the greatest danger to world peace?
There are many dangers to world peace. Greed and the desire for power among all humans is the greatest danger to world peace. The countries that do not have any type of democracy and are ruled by dictators, any of those, if they gain nuclear weapons, can be the greatest danger to world peace. As I discussed earlier, there are many ways that weapons can be used. I do not think that when they are used that they will be, shall we say, delivered in a recognizable way. I think that there will be a small weapon used and a certain country will be blamed. Hopefully, there will be a thorough investigation and it will be proven who really set that small weapon. But I think that is probably the greatest danger.
Will China invade Taiwan?
I do not see in the near future that they will use force, but I do see that they will try to wreck them financially. They will threaten them. They may do a blockade, but I think they will stop short of invasion. At least at this present time, that is the decision. But it is quite possible that situations will change in the near future, where China will need a diversion for its people. And if they can mobilize the huge population of their country towards a war effort, it may divert how these citizens of China are falling short in their standards of living.
Yeah. What do you see as the future for that country, China?
China is going to try to rule the world, but their Achilles tendon is trade with major countries. If countries like the United States, Great Britain, Japan, many of the great economic powers, cease to trade with China, there will be no way that they can support their population. And they will have to eliminate some of the spending that they are currently putting into their military. And they will have to negotiate a situation where they can have free trade with the democracies of the world.
What do you see as the future for Russia?
Russia is destroying their country in the long term. Their population growth has slowed. Their young people are being killed. They will find that they will not have the people that they need to build the economic engine that they will need to compete with the Western world. They will need a drastic change in leadership, and this will not come until the common person in Russia determines that they will no longer put up with the autocracy and the abuse. This will take years, but there will be a time that Russia will change. Sadly, they will have ruined their country in what is now taking place.
We have another question from a listener. Will the U.S. have another terrorist attack on our soil like 9/11?
The United States will suffer numerous terrorist attacks in the future. They will come from countries that hate the United States. They will come as a result of unlimited immigration where the individuals were not screened properly. There are currently terrorists in the country that are planning to carry out certain terrorist attacks.
I suspected that. What will be the future relationship between Russia and China?
China will reach a point where they basically gain control of Russia. Russia essentially has a very small economy, and Russia is very dependent on China for aid. China is very dependent on Russia for energy supply. They will negotiate very cheap energy, and the very cheap energy will compound the economic problems of Russia. And they will reach a point where the only way they will be able to exist is through aid of China. Russia is bringing all of this upon themselves by their attempt to gain power and to overtake other countries.
What do you see as the future of Iran?
Iran has already developed a nuclear weapon. It is a secret that they have been keeping, but the intelligent communities of certain countries are well aware of it. Iran will continue to try to expand their power in the Middle East. They will reach a point where they will use the other countries. They will give their weapons to those countries, but they will also reach a point where the countries associated with Israel will take steps to militarily destroy their nuclear program. If the free countries take steps to economically isolate Iran and stop helping them, they can be defeated economically.
What do you see as the future of North Korea?
North Korea is a terrible situation. Their people are the most abused in the world. They do not have electricity, running water. They do not understand what takes place in the world around them. North Korea's propaganda has basically totally controlled the people of North Korea. Hopefully there will be a time that the people of North Korea understand that life surrounding them, especially in South Korea, is a wonderful way of life that they would like to have. The military of North Korea controls the country. Hopefully there will be a time that the leaders of the military will take action against the political leadership, and the military will decide to lead the people to reunite with South Korea and to advance in their economic capacities.
That would be great. Is there a governing body in the galaxy that has the ability to stop two planets from going to war?
All of the highly civilized planets in the galaxy have got a governing system. All of the planets comply with the rules of this system. And if there are animosities growing between two planets, the governing system can step in and negotiate a situation where there will be no hostilities. Hostilities between planets are strictly forbidden.
So if they decide to go against that, what would be the penalty?
The penalty would be that they would be isolated from trade with the other planets. There would be an embargo against them. They would have to pay fines. There would be many things that can take place. You have to think of the planets in the galaxy as similar to all of the different countries on Earth. They must learn to get along and they must learn to coexist. And the governing bodies would take action against a planet that destroyed another planet. If they represented a great enough danger to the rest of the galaxy, the united planets in the galaxy could take military action against that planet and even destroy it. There is no way that a single planet could ever stand up to the united militaries or weaponry of the combined planets.
Would it be possible for aliens to step in and stop countries on a planet from going to war?
Absolutely. It could happen on Earth because the aliens have so many different abilities that humans do not have. For instance, they could force all of the nuclear weapons not to work. They could disarm the nuclear weapons of the world. But for the time being, at least, free will has got to be allowed to work its way.
Yeah. We have another question from our chat room. How many planets in this galaxy have civilizations less advanced than Earth?
I'm not sure of the real number, but I would know that there's probably close to 100 of your numbers. There are many, many young cultures in the galaxy.
Alien disclosure has begun. How long will it take until total disclosure is completed?
At the rate of which it's going, I would think about 10 years. Many, many more people are seeing alien evidence. Governments are starting to recognize them. But there are many people that live in great fear of extraterrestrials. It will take a fairly long process to educate the people of this planet as to the true intentions of the aliens, which is only to help.
If you could only give humans one prediction for the future, what would it be?
That is a difficult question. If I was to give one single prediction, I would say that there will be a nuclear occurrence and that the countries of the world must step back and truly analyze what has taken place before taking any action.
So do you think humans will end up destroying themselves?
Actually, at this time, I do not think so. I think there are many politicians with calmer heads. I think that the trend towards autocracies is going to end at some time as the people become better educated. if there was a way to end the propaganda in Russia or to educate the people, the autocracy would end in a very short period of time.
Fred, do you see any natural disasters for the United States in the near future?
The United States is going to have some very strong hurricanes. There will be 2 strong storms this summer that will do much damage in the United States. Within the next 20 years, there will be volcanic activity that will take place. So there will be many natural occurrences that will cause great damage. There will be earthquakes in the next 20 years. The tectonic plates of the earth are changing, and there are pressures building, and you will see damage from that natural movement of the plates.
What do you see as the long-term effect of global warming?
Global warming is real. There have been times throughout Earth's history that the planet has been extremely warm and there has been no ice. Natural occurrences, ice ages occur. It is very difficult for humans to determine what is climate change and what is long-term weather changes. All humans have got to act to do what they can to save the planet. Water pollution, putting gases into the air, all of these things will have an effect. But there are natural occurrences that can have huge effects on the planet. For instance, if the Earth is ever struck by a large meteor, there will be more damage done than humans can ever conceive of taking care of. So Mother Nature has a way of protecting herself. And when she does decide, she has many violent ways of doing it.
Do you ever see a time that our planet will not be able to support human life?
Yes, all planets have a time in which they will not be able to support human life. There have been long periods of time in the Earth where it could not support human life. It has only been relatively recent, geologically, that humans have been able to survive on this planet. That is why it is so important that humans advance technologically, so that when they see that time coming, they can travel the stars and relocate to other planets.
How is it possible that alien ships are invisible to humans?
Because aliens have these great abilities that humans do not have. Aliens or extraterrestrials have gained the ability to make dimensional changes. They can change matter. They can change molecular content. They can do many things that humans cannot even comprehend at this time. They can cloak themselves, they can change, they can be invisible. There are many, many things that extraterrestrials can do, and if humans learn how to coexist, we'll be very happy to teach human technologies.
Are the ships invisible to other extraterrestrials?
No, because we also have the ability to see through the dimensional changes that are made to make the ships invisible. There are many different dimensions, and many of the cultures have conquered the ability to move between these dimensions.
What weapons will come after lasers for humans?
It will be a type of energy ray, but at this time humans are incapable of doing what is needed to have that type of technology.
Fred, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon or this evening. Do you have a final message for us?
Yes, I would like to thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. The future for humans is very difficult. The only way that humans will truly exist into the future is to learn to compromise, to coexist, to love one another, to do all the things that they haven't learned for the last several thousand years. Humans are capable of doing whatever they would like to accomplish, but they must make up their minds to do it. They must make up their minds to have a great equality, to love one another, and to simply not want to do harm to anyone. Humans have the ability to do it. The question is, will they do it? So thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. It was a pleasure as always, and should you ask, I would return.
That's good news. We just might do that. Thank you for sharing your knowledge with us, Fred.
Okay, thank you, Fred. Very, very interesting insight into what's currently taking place and in the future. Now, as you may be aware, I'm the author of 2 books concerning aliens, Aliens Among Us, Exploring Past and Present, and Spirits Speak of the Universe. All of the information in these books was channeled from a spirit by the name of Moo. I think maybe Moo and Fred were brothers sometime, but all the information also comes from the other side and comes from extraterrestrials. My 10th book, Modern Messages of the Archangels, is available for purchase. It can be purchased in audio form, paperback, hardcover, ebook on Amazon. If you'd like to have a signed copy, you have to go to my website. It's barrystrohm.com. During the past several years, Connie and I have channeled over 20 archangels. We bring you their messages in a single volume. We're both very excited about this release. I hope you would take time to perhaps purchase the book and enlighten your life by reading what's in them.
I'd like to thank you all for joining us tonight on Channeling History. Tonight we tried to bring you a look at the present and the future. We've been trying to bring you the truth about history by speaking to the souls that lived those events. It's only by understanding the events of the past that we can prepare for the future, as Fred said just a short while ago.
And Fred knows all. So all of our shows are available on the YouTube channel. It's in my name, Barry Strohm. If you want to download them, the audios, go to podomatic.com, search Channeling History. We hope you enjoyed our show tonight. I know we did. Thank you for listening. And please join us Sundays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on the ParaX Radio Network.
Tune in again next week for another electrifying episode, as we never know who will make an appearance or who will come through the portal. Any rebroadcast or other use of this program without explicit permission is strictly prohibited. Copyright 2020. Our Story Begins by Kevin MacLeod, licensed through Incompetech.com.